Hey, hello to everybody. Bobby Holland is here, and today we are going to try to run sort of the new rubrication on our channel. So the idea is to provide a bunch of different news that has happened over the last several days, and to tell about them in a different manner, just as my personal understanding, as the things that have happened, and the way I reflect at them specifically. I'm gonna be honest, for these specific episodes, I'm not preparing any script in advance or something, just as how some YouTubers do, because in my opinion, the main idea of such a rubric should be that the host should react honestly to the news he finds out about. So I'm just gonna be opening up some news I'm finding and I am getting from our editorial team, and I'll be talking about them through myself, taking an initial look at them as well, and providing some more clarity and details from what I know, partying inside the IT area. So if you're interested and if such format would be nice for you, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And we will be possibly evolving these specific type of episodes, so maybe they will be changed. But anyway, let's get started. So the first news that came to my mind is a pretty interesting one, as long as it tells about the process of returning to the offices back. So as all of us probably know, for more than 3.5 years, we're already living in the world where the COVID exists, because the first incidents have had appeared in 2019. And for almost 3 years, we are mostly working in the remote culture. Obviously, lots of the companies have recovered from that and they are already back on track with their offices, but most of the IT companies decided that it is not the best solution for them. They don't want to have offices at all, and they moved their employees to the remote work. This is something that has happened to the companies I work with as well, and being honest, I don't see any big companies who are making that an obligatory to return back to offices. Facing the truth, we have technically faced a new era of the world when we are just going to work remotely at all. But anyway, Natasha Maskarhan, who is the author of the weekly insights and weekly updates on the TechCrunch, has provided some pretty interesting updates about the statistics and entrepreneurship statistics of how much the office costs, why lots of people decide to come back to that, etc. And for example, the main idea here is that in 2023, there are lots of founders, especially the startup founders, who think that coming back to offices will be something positive for the productivity of the workers. And honestly, talking about that, I cannot say this is something that might be as useful as possible. First of all, because when you are coming back to the office, you are losing a bunch of time navigating to the place. Secondly, again, we all got used to work remotely because 3 years is a huge amount of time. And currently, for example, myself cannot imagine the process of working in the office more than several times a week, maybe, just because it feels like I'm limited with my possibilities. So again, that depends on the culture, and some things might change. But most of all, that the idea of coming back to the offices is not going to be as perfect as possible. Moreover, we are facing the recession. We are preparing for some pretty tremendous changes in the budgeting, and the cost cutting is on the plate as well. And even the Elon Musk, who seems to be the evangelist of working not remotely but in offices, has to shut down some part of the Twitter workplaces, for example, and switch them up. And this is a huge amount of spendings for companies, the big ones and the small ones. And whether this is something that should be done in 2023, well, I doubt. Whether people want to come back to offices at all, I doubt as well. But anyway, that's always a useful thing to start working in some place and not just sit at four walls all the time. But at the same time, don't forget that once we get the possibility to work with the remote processes, we got an opportunity to get hired into the companies in any time of the world, in any part of the world, and work with them anytime. And this brought a lot of different benefits for the companies as well, because they are not limited to the specific location where the specialists are at. And coming back again to the offices topic, that would mean that the users and the people who are working would have to start seeking for the talents inside the designated location, which does not seem to be the best solution. Another thing to talk about is the new application presented by the ex-founders of the Instagram. The app is called Artifact, and technically it is the gatherer process or gatherer space for all the news happening all around the web. The idea itself is pretty interesting, but definitely not new because we had the Google RSS reader a long time ago, for example. We had the Flipper, we had the solution by Microsoft. I cannot even remember what was the name of it. And the idea of the whole application is that this is just a venture strategy of the founders when they are trying to find another unicorn app, just as Instagram became one day. Take a look at the Artifact app as a separate thing. I cannot say there's too many information about it, just because, first of all, there is just one screenshot that is being speculated all over the web. Secondly, the internal beta has not even started, and there is just a wait list for those who want to try. But honestly, let's talk about the process itself, why this app is being created, and why are the apps that are duplicating the functionality of the existing ones are being emergible all over the App Store as well. The idea here is quite simple, and it is because technically the venture strategy is established in the way that founders are just trying to create an app similar to something existing, add some more functionality, and just to take a look at how the target audience would react. Simple example, Google RSS Reader, or Google Reader as it was named, was closed back in 2013. It was not an interesting project for Google, and 10 years passed since then. At the same time, the idea is that currently it is possible that new audience will like this functionality more. Honestly, I'm a little bit doubtful about that because currently the main idea of the current audience of the users of the applications is the fact that they have a clip thinking. Like they got used to the TikTok videos with 15 seconds length. We got used to the Instagram posts, which are just visual ones and there's not too much text to read as well. And summing up all of that, I don't think that the news aggregator might be something interesting for the users, except some specific categories, but it's not going to become something mass ranged or something extremely complicated and interesting for all the users around. So we'll see how it goes. Possibly this is something interesting that will work out, but I don't think so, being honest. And in my opinion, this is just one part of the overall global venture strategy when more than 5 or 6 or even 10 applications definitely will be created just to test out the conception. So let's see how it goes, but I'm highly doubtful about it. Next news. Meta wins the fight to buy a VR startup called Within. First of all, let's talk a little bit about this process and what was going on during the last half a year. So the Within is a pretty popular company in the VR metasphere because they are providing an app called Supernatural. The application itself is fancy and provides an ability to train boxing and some dancing as well, providing you with the live coaches and gives you an opportunity to technically feel yourself like you're working out at the gym. Again, this is something about the remote culture. And the app itself is extremely awesome. I've been using it for a lot as well. But the problem is that currently Meta is trying to build a monopoly all around the different applications and to acquire as much things as possible. The idea for doing that is because they are possibly trying to build some sort of monopoly and to become the main key player on the AR market and VR market as well. If that's gonna work out or not, that's a question because we are currently waiting for something being introduced by Apple, and definitely that's gonna change the game. But knowing the process of Apple products growth, it's gonna take a couple or even several years for the AR helmet or whatever it's gonna be to transform into something productive and working. There are still rumors, maybe this will not be introduced at all, but there are too many different things to talk about. Anyway, coming back to the Meta and their startup acquisition process, the article itself is pretty interesting and it provides the details about this deal in a much more aspect than I could do this right now. But anyway, I'm going to try to cover the situations in the main smashes. So the company within itself has been established something like 3 or 4 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. They were the pioneers on the VR market, and they've been developing for the first Rift versions or even recent Quest 1 versions of their application. And there was technically a first rumor about the company being purchased in the beginning of 2022. At the same time, what's interesting is that the startup has been aimed to acquiring by two different companies. The first one candidate was Meta, the second one was FTX. And the main problem was that FTX was not able to provide the uh, correct pricing and correct offer on time. So why Meta came ahead and they have ran the deal being started much earlier. FTX in advance and in response have started the court issue, and it was lasting until the February 3rd or 2nd, like last Friday. The idea is that Meta has got the right to purchase the company, and FTX went lost here because they still were not able to provide the specific pricing, etc. Anyway, the interesting is the fact itself that the companies are fighting for the specific startups on the VR arena, because this seems a pretty complicated and a pretty interesting area and the domain to work at the moment. And again, nobody's sure when it's going to be the rise for the VR and if it's going to happen at all. My personal opinion is that VR will not be useful until we will reach the variant where you can just use that as regular glasses instead of a complicated big helmets, etc. Obviously, I'm daydreaming at the moment, but still the idea seems to be like that. Summing up, it seems like the process and the approach is interesting, and it's good for Meta to have one more high player acquired, and their amounts of different companies acquired since the beginning of the VR era. But whether that's going to be enough to create a monopoly, that's a question, and we should take a look and wait to see what's going to happen next. Final article that has came to my site was the one published on Wired a couple of days ago about the Telegram being not so secure as possible. First of all, this topic is highly connected to Russia, and as you definitely know from all the videos I've been recording previously, I'm highly against Russians because the process and the things they do, they have launched the war that escalated in my personal country, in Ukraine. That's horrible. At the same time, as you probably know, the index of democracy in this country has grown low, and we are mostly seeing the main aspects of like something like tyranny happening there, because absolutely a lot of different investigations happening for nothing. People are being arrested. There is no opposition at all in the country at the moment. But the most interesting and tricky part from the tech perspective here is the fact that Telegram, which is seemed to be a Russian product because it was created by Pavel Durov, who was the person from St. Petersburg, the author of Kontakte application, the vk.com, and technically, I believe, one of the first entrepreneurs who got banned from everything happening in Russia. This was his build, and the main idea of his product was to make it a highly security one. Moreover, the interesting fact is that according to the legend and according to the story, the Telegram prototype was built by Pavel's brother, so they can communicate securely, knowing that their phones are being tracked by the Russian special forces, special investigation forces called FSB. At the same time, currently there are more and more evidences that Telegram is being read completely. There are some pros and cons about this story, and some of the people are believing in that, some of them not. Probably will not find out the truth soon. But from what I'm seeing, first of all, the fact that Russia was trying to ban Telegram for a long period of time and they never succeeded, and then this story just disappeared from everybody's minds and from the news and etc., makes me think that possibly there was some sort of the maybe deal done between the Telegram owners and possibly Russian government. From the other perspective, the fact that too many things and too many evidences are telling that the Telegram chats are being read are pretty obvious as well. For example, we had several pretty loud and pretty scandalous, I would say, cases when in Russia different people, oppositioners, volunteers have been arrested, and there were no evidences except the Telegram communications. At the same time, these Telegram communications appeared from somehow, and they were used as the main materials at the court, after which once those people got arrested. And again, the opposition is currently completely destroyed in Russia, and I don't think that there's something good to happen with this country soon. Anyway, the idea is that it seems like there is some sort of the deal between the FSB and the Telegram, and possibly they are providing some specific details or some specific chats per request. Otherwise, I cannot just explain what is the reason of why Telegram got off so easy from the Russian clause of the ban, and why they keep operating and operating pretty easily. Moreover, let's not forget that Telegram is mostly popular on the post-Soviet Union territories, and their monetization plan with the Telegram Pro is mostly being used again by the people in the post-Soviet territories. Why is it so? How does it work? And what's going to be the output of that? I don't think we're going to know soon, but anyway, we should observe and we will find this out, hopefully after some period of time, or maybe never, because this is how the governmental security things work. Anyway, these were all the news for today, and I'm really grateful for you joining this video. Please like and subscribe if you liked it. If not, feel free to write some comments to recommend me what can be done better. This was a test pilot format. I'm going to try to run this on a regular basis. The main idea is to help you dive into the tech world news in a fast and easy way in such a half a podcast format. Thanks a lot for your time, and see you soon.